Good morning, everybody. I thought I would bring you along with me and the boys, Spencer and Duncan, and take a little walk around the garden today and see what's growing, what's not growing, see what adjustments we need to make, and start thinking about our plans for the spring gardens, which I'm super excited about. I just ordered a bunch of seed. I'm waiting for my new seed catalog from Baker Creek. So let's get looking at the garden. First, I've been covering the beds. Oh, Duncan, thank you for joining in. So I've been covering my raised beds in the potager garden with lattice. I've had a squirrel problem with them getting in the raised beds to bury their nuts or whatever they've been finding for the winter in the beds. They've also planted some of my corn. So I had corn growing out here and they took down all of my ears of corn. And I'm finding corn growing in the beds and random places in the yard. So first of all, let me go grab these lattices off of here and then we'll talk about what's growing in there. Come on, buddy. Let's go. Okay, so some of you may know that this is the first year for the potager garden. It's not our first year growing vegetables. It's our first year growing vegetables in a long time. And so a lot of this is really trial and error for me. And then I have a lot of plans of what I want to do for next year as far as building the potager up. I did not have a lot of success with carrots before, and I think it's because I planted my carrots in the same bed as my tomatoes. And I think what happened was they got shadowed out, so they couldn't really grow. But now, look at these carrots. They are doing great. And then here we have our Danvers half-longs, and we have Oxheart carrots. I'm actually going to turn the camera around. So here we have, I did these in nice rows, but like I said, squirrels. The squirrels got in and they threw the seed all over the place. So I really don't know what's what. And now things are planted a little too close, but I can see if we got any action in here. Oh, look, there's a little something. So that one's probably going to be a twisted up mess. I also planted bunching onions, so you can see them here, and that was just like a really tiny line against the edge of the bed. And then here I have some jasmine left over from summer. Yeah. I'm really excited about my carrots. I don't know why carrots to me are my most exciting plant. I think root crops in general, because I get to look in there and see what's going on. It's like a mystery. It's like I'm treasure hunting. Then over in this bed we have yellow onions. I'm not sure if they're really gonna bulb up or if I'm just gonna have green onions. I'm not sure. I mean, they're bulbed up a little tiny bit here. Let's see. Not much. And then we have beets. And then we have 2 more rows of Denver carrots. And again, squirrels. Over here we have our kale that we grow specifically for our guinea pigs. We have 6 guinea pigs. My daughter has 6 guinea pigs. Oh my goodness, are you okay, buddy? There you see I have some plants that I have not yet planted, and I'm going to tell you, because I'm human, that I did a terrible thing. Watch out, bud. This is Spencer. He's the spoiled brat of the house. So this is known as a Mexican petunia. I bought it midsummer, and it was doing so good there. I just kept saying, oh, well, you know, I'll plant it later. I'll plant it later. And I left it in its nursery pot. My husband calls me over here the other day and he says, Babe, try to move this. He said, I can't move it. It has rooted in from the bottom out of the nursery pot into the ground. So that's a thing that happened because I'm human. So we'll work on getting that taken care of. Lots of mud. I told my husband I think we're actually just mud farmers because this yard is, we have a water issue over here. That's the main reason for the raised beds over here. On this side of the potager garden I have all garlic and spinach. So I think I planted all of my garlic way too early. This is my first time ever doing garlic. I did it the end of September. Yes, the end of September. And I did an experiment. So I did a row of store-bought garlic because I've heard people saying you can't grow it from what you get at the store. And then I have 2 rows of soft neck garlic that I got that was, seed garlic. And then I have another 2 rows that I planted later. I planted 2 weeks ago. So the first week of November, I planted these here in this row here. Now, I don't know if these will make it over winter because I've been told they're not really supposed to put on much growth before cold and they go dormant. So I'm not sure if the ones that have grown this much are going to make it. So they said it's an experiment. I've never grown garlic before, so we'll just see what happens. But as you can see, my store garlic looks great. It actually looks better than the soft neck. I don't know if it's because the store is a hard neck. This is a soft neck. I don't know if that's why, because these are like really thin and this is like really thick, robust. So it may be the reason why, but I'm not sure. I'm also growing spinach. I planted, I think it was 10 spinach in this row. Again, squirrels. So we only have 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, the boys like to bark a lot because we are in a neighborhood. Our little homestead is very urban. Not urban like in a city, but it's not in the country. And so spinach, something's eating it, apparently. Looking at this one. Boys. Sorry. I'm not going to edit that out because it's life and you will hear these dogs bark a lot. But so these spinach I planted in September. And as you see, they are so tiny. I don't know if it's just the variety, I don't know what's going on. But so I'm going to call the spinach probably a fail. But I'll just let it keep doing its thing. This bed was full of zinnia. And then it has 1 row of bunching onions. And then in there is just grass and leaf compost. Or mulch. It's not compost, it's mulch. It's just leaf clippings and grass clippings from when we mow the grass. Okay. So let's take a look around and talk about spring plants. All right, so for spring, what I have planned is I plan to add several new beds over here. I want to take out this short bed, the little squatty one that has the kale, and then I want to add a long one that goes from the kale here, and I want it to come all the way over. And it'll be kind of thin, maybe not as thin as that kale is, that kale bed, but kind of thin. Then I want to do a matching one on this side here, where we were going to put grapes. We were going to put a grape arbor here and do a row of grapes, but my husband decided that he didn't think grapes would be the best choice for us, because grapes are poisonous to dogs, and we do have 3 dogs that are in the yard constantly. So we decided to not do grapes, and I'm just going to do another bed here. I'm going to take this hydrangea out and move it, and then do a bed here. I didn't talk about this. Hold on. So this is my lettuce bed. It was green beans and lettuce, and it's just lettuce now. But look how great this is doing. Now, it's the middle, almost the end of November, and it has a little teeny bit of like where the frost touched it. Little teeny, but I've been pulling off of this for quite a while. Let me see. I'm checking, I see some dark. I want to make sure there's not some cabbage worms or something in here. Make sure it's not worm poo. It's not, it's just a little dirt. Alright, let's talk about this some more. As we come around to this part of the garden, there's really is nothing planted here. But the plan is that along this fence, we'll do blackberries and raspberries next year. And then we want to turn this area here, and I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about this before, into the Zen garden. We want to eventually take where the chain link is and put privacy fence. It may be next year. If not, it'll be on the following year's plan. This here is what I'm the most excited about. No, I'm lying. I don't know. I'm really excited about the potager garden because I have so many new vegetables I want to plant. But this is probably going to be my baby, because on this side of the steps is going to be the herb garden. And on this side of the steps is going to be my cut flower garden, because I love to keep cut fresh flowers in the house all the time. My herb garden is important to me because I use medicinal herbs to make salves and tinctures and stuff of that nature for our family and for our Etsy shop. So being able to have all my own herbs, which I had a small raised herb garden before, but now I want to take it on an entirely different scale. And so I want to take it from the porch probably all the way out to there. It's a good size, and I'm going to do some little picket fence around it to keep the dogs out of that, because I don't want them messing with those plants. Especially this guy, Duncan, loves to eat the vegetables and things that are growing in the gardens. And Pippa, who is in the house, she's our little Yorkie mix. She loves to eat leaves, so anything that is herbs, potentially poisonous to dogs or anything like that, I want to keep away. This area here, I want to put a pondless fountain in here and make this like a complete zen area for the hubby. This is his hammock that he loves to spend a lot of time in. Back here we have this disastrous mess, and it is going to be turned into a compost bin. I'm going to have my husband build a nice bin. To me, I don't need to go back here. I find this is like the scary area. Does anybody else have a scary area in their yard? Because to me, I'm like, I don't know what's lurking underneath all of this wood, underneath all these leaves. And the dogs like to go back here constantly. Like this is their hangout spot. I hate it. I'm always worried about them getting bit by snakes, getting ticks, whatever back here. I hate it. and at night they'll be back here. And this one, Spencer, he will not come in when you call him, and you literally have to go where he is and pick him up and carry him in the house. So at night he'll come out here, and I will have the hardest time because I'll be terrified of coming back here. And I carry a flashlight out here with me at night, but I'm still scared to death of whatever creatures might be roaming in this little teeny section of the yard that has me absolutely terrified. If we come around this way, originally I had planned on this green area being a very, very formal and elaborate flower garden full of flower beds. But the more I do with the potager and the herbs and the cut flowers, I found that I need a place that's just green. So I believe that for the most part, I'm going to just leave this grass. I may cover up what I consider like some of the ugly parts of the place, like right against the house and maybe against the deck. I might do a flower bed, you know, around here and something here, just like I started this little one here, which is a work in progress. I may do something there, but other than that, I think I'm really just going to keep this green. So another area of the yard that's really important to me is my pollinator garden. But I want to make a lot of changes to the front this year because last year I grew squash and pumpkins over in the potager, and it was just a mess. I hated it. So I really want to do a separate pumpkin patch and maybe add squash, like my vining crops, except for cucumbers, which I do plan on building a trellis arch and putting over there in the potager. But I think for my pumpkins and my squash, watermelon, I want to put them in a separate garden, and I think they're going to move out here right next to the pollinator garden. Crybabies. I'm leaving the yard. I'm like 2 feet away. He's so sad. And then here comes this guy, because apparently when I go through the fence, he forgets that I live here. What are you guys doing? You can't come out here. Silly. So this is the pollinator garden. We usually keep a little fence around it, and we plant it with annuals full of things that are great for habitat for bees and birds and butterflies. Stop it. The boys have... He can't handle that I'm on the other side of the fence. Okay. I think that next year, because this is the area of the yard that gets the most sun, the most steady hours, like 10, 12 hours of sun. I believe this is where I want to put the pumpkin patch. Along the fence here we have some Gara, pink Gara, and we have mini Malvet hydrangea, all which are dying back for the winter. Also have pink dogwood, which this color for autumn is so pretty. I did not know this tree gets this pretty, so I'm really excited about that. I think I might plant another one. So I have to figure out some way that I want to change the configuration of the pollinator garden and then put in the squash garden, the pumpkin patch as well. One of the problems about this is we can't, I don't know if we can't, but we don't have the front fenced, so it stops, there's no way to stop other animals and stuff from getting into the pumpkin patch. And this yard is a complete slope. So I'm really limited to about here, about where that rose obelisk is, because this is where the slope starts. I mean, I guess I could just let the vines grow down the hill. But, you know, this is our front yard, so we live in a neighborhood, so we need to keep it semi-tidy. Over here, what we have growing and not growing in November, we have, oh my goodness, my brain just totally stopped working. Okay, so here we have Russian sage. It needs to be cut back. My roses, which have had a lot of damage from Japanese beetles this year, and I've really had a bad problem with bloodworms this year too. And they are at last roses. We have that one there, we have one here, and we have another one here. So we have 3 at roses in here. We have a white butterfly Gora over here. This is Ansomnia, I believe. It's a proven winners. It's like a blue plant. Walker's Low catnip. Look how huge. So there's the edging, and look how far that comes out. This is one plant. This is the second year for this one plant. It's humongous. It's crazy, and so it needs to be cut back too. This, I can't remember the name of this shrub. Spirea. This is a white spirea. And then here we have our autumn joy sedum, a row of it. And I haven't cut back any of this stuff this year. Last year I cut it back, and then some of it that didn't get cut back, a couple things I missed, I seen did a lot better in the spring. I'm thinking it's because they had a little more protection at the bottom of the plant from the elements. So I'm thinking I might leave most of this or just cut it back, but not as short, not all the way to the ground. This is a rose bush that's dedicated to my grandmother, who passed away about 7 years ago. So what I think is, because I want to do fruit as well this year as vegetables in the potager garden, so I believe what I want to do is I want to do a row of fruit trees that comes from this tree to the trellis here. That's a pretty good distance away. Yeah, so I think I want to do Asian pears, plums, and cherries. So that's and miniature peach. So that's what's the plan for that. And I think I can just do them right on the slope and create a wall of trees right there, and then just do like a little garden gate that takes you through the wall of trees. I think that would be really pretty, hopefully, and productive, because we get a lot of sun. This is full sun right here. All right, let's see what else we have growing in the garden in November. We don't have a lot of things growing out front this year, right now, in the garden, because we've cut most of it back. And this summer, I used a lot of annuals. So I did one whole bed of my big front bed in annuals. And there was like annuals, basically a lot of supertunias planted out here by this little tree, that tree, this tree. So I used a ton of annuals. So there's not a lot going on out here. But I will show you what is going on. Whew. And what I plan to have going on next year. What we have growing out front right now is we have a lot of thyme. I use thyme strictly as a ground cover. And this is not like my culinary thyme. It's just my ground cover thyme. And I have, right here, I have one hydrangea. And then over here I have 3 hydrangeas, and they are incredible. The white incredible, which look like the Annabelle, but they're the proven winners, incredible. Other than that, everything in this bed was an annual. My plan for this bed is to, where the benches next year, put in a fountain. I want to landscape paper the whole thing. Add just a couple foundation plants, perennial, and make this like a really structured garden that's very low maintenance, because I spend so much time on the potager garden and adding beds and stuff like that. I need to have something that's just really low maintenance and looks clean and nice all the time, especially since it's right at our front door. That's what I did with this area last year. I was tired of trying to come up with something to do with it. I felt like the shape was awkward. It's just too big of a spot. So last year I just papered this whole area here. I added some just structural plants. So the rose bush was already there. So I added some arborvitae. They are the tater tot, Proven Winners tater tot arborvitae. In the middle here we have a wee white hydrangea. Then on the end, this is a rose that matches this one, but it got some kind of something not good was happening to it, so I cut it all the way back. And then this little weeping cherry was here when we moved in. It's only ornamental. It does not produce any kind of fruit. And so I think, I'm going to leave all of that exactly like it is. This is staying the way it is, except for I will probably plant super petunias around the little cherry tree every year, just to add some color for curb appeal. And then we'll come around to this way, and this is the garden I call the romance garden. And this is my shade garden. It does not get very much sun whatsoever up against the house. We have Gara here on either side of the obelisk, and then this rose, which was with the house. I don't know what it is. I had tried to take it out one time, and it's so massive I couldn't do it. But look at this, way up here in the clouds. To give you some idea of how tall this rose is growing right now, I'm 5'4". This is probably 5'5". And here is the rose. Okay? Look at this. I mean, if you compare that to the lights on my garage, it is huge. I mean, I've never in my life seen a rose this huge. And it's just one stem. So, I'm pretty sure I will cut that back for next year. But it's so glorious right now. Look at this. And this bloom has been on there for a while, so it's about done. And then there's other buds looking so gorgeous on here. And look at that. Whatever this rose is, it starts out with the red striping, and then it opens with pink on the edges and is really vibrant yellow, and then it turns white, and then unfortunately it turns brown, and then they fall off. Very not pretty. Do you hear Duncan crying and whining because I'm on the other side of the fence and he can see me, and he is freaking out because he wants attention all the time. My daughter has some anxieties, and so we got him because he was supposed to be like emotionally support starter trained, but for some reason he wasn't able to be finished training, and we got him, and he needs an emotional support animal. Honestly, look at him. Are you okay? Are you gonna make it? What happened? Are you stuck over there? Are you stuck over here? Play. I can't reach you, you silly boy. I can't reach you. So Duncan is a silver doodle. So he's a Goldendoodle, so which makes him Golden Retriever and Poodle. And one of his parents was probably black, and he is what's known as a silver doodle. He's not golden in any way. No, you rascal. You would think that he doesn't get attention 24/7, but he does. Another weird fact about Duncan is he was weaned too early. Yeah. And so he has a blankie in the house. He has actually a couple blankies. And he lays there and he sucks on the blanket and whines and for great lengths of time every day. And it's very sad. And they say that is like them suckling from their mom because they were weaned too soon. And he's a puppy, but he's not that young. He's 2. All right, so let's get back to the garden. All right, so let's look at what's growing in the romance garden. So right here we have a penny mac hydrangea, which is quite done for the year. We have a Rose of Sharon in the pot, along with a wee hosta, again, very done for the year. We've got some rosemary, and then the rest of the bed, we have some ferns here. It's still holding on. We've got sweet woodruff holding on, and I planted it to kind of just like fill in the spots over here, and I got to get more of it. Lamium looking good, surprisingly well. We've got a couple coral bells here, so they're still growing in November. Another fern, which I think it's about done. This is a little lime hydrangea. It's definitely done. Rainbow hosta, looking good. A little bit of bug damage, but it's still looking good. Lamb's ear, looking great. Brunnera coming up back here. This is a Spirea artisan double play. Here we have some Spanish lavender. I'm gonna take that out. A lot of changes are going to happen in this bed. I had to pause because I smelled a little natural gas over here. I have to check that because that was a weird smell. But so this little bed here, I'm going to move some things because I planted it this time last year with clearance plants because we had tore out these huge trees that were up against it and rhododendrons that they all had some type of disease. We pulled it all out, and so I just threw together something real quick. Didn't matter what was where, I was just filling spots. But then this year I could see that a lot of it needed, some of it needed more sun, some of it needed less sun, and it doesn't get much sun, so that's saying a lot. So next year in the spring, I'm going to be moving a lot of plants around in this bed and adding some more. All right, so if we come down here and look, this side here is where we just were in the romance garden. And I want to do a lot here, but this side of the yard is the yard side where the potager garden is that stays super wet. I don't know if you can see, but like it's like sopping wet all the time. So there's not a lot of things I can plant, but one of my thoughts is to plant a weeping willow because weeping willows need a lot of water. And if you plant them near other plants, they tend to deprive those other plants of water. So I thought this would be a great place to plant that because it's naturally wet and boggy. I mean, if you look here at the sidewalk, it's where it's running down the hill. And that sidewalk there stays wet, just like this grass. So I think weeping willow would do extremely well in here. This area here, I wanted to create this like really romantic feel. I wanted all the plants to be creams and light pinks and peaches. And I wanted to put like a reading nook And that's still part of my plan. I started building up this berm to plant in around these trees this past year, and I filled it with caladium this past year. I'm not sure what'll go in there now for the new year. I think I'm just going to fill it with hydrangea, because I want to put a bench here underneath, and in the canopy above I want to put a chandelier. And then I think the bench that's out front, I'm going to put it here with the chandelier and maybe some big plants here up against the fence. I want to do on both sides of the yard at the gate and arbor, the white arbor to match the fencing. And I want to just make this a really cozy and romantic feeling. I think of like Renaissance gardens when I think what I want this to look like. Originally, the potager garden was called my Renaissance garden, and I wanted it to be just really formal, boxwood, statues, but something just came over me with the desire to plant differently. Something came over me the past year to just plant differently, to add food. I think it was just because I was tired of grocery store prices. Also, I have high blood pressure, diabetic, and so I wanted to start eating a little healthier. Then came COVID. Now, I had already started planning before COVID, but once COVID came, it really set things in high gear when I went to the grocery store and there was no food. And I'm sure this happened with so many, because a lot of people really got into gardening this year. Vegetable gardening, as well as planting flower beds. And I think a lot of it was, one, everybody's stuck in the house and they need something to do. They need a project. And two, people are starting to be afraid of, what if something like this happens and everything shuts down and we can't get food? How are we going to survive? Do we even know how to take care of ourselves? I've been blessed because I had family members that gardened with big vegetable gardens in the past. I also belong to a great group of friends who are Renaissance fair performers, Civil War reenactors, and stuff of that sort. I'm big into like Ren fairs and stuff, but we know a lot of people that know how to live, I'll say primitively, because they know how to make things. They can make food, they can make clothing, they can make things with metal. So, we know blacksmiths, and I'm an herbalist, and we know, people that can create the kind of things that we're going to need if we didn't have stores, if we didn't have electricity, if the world fell apart. How to make weapons, and just things that you would need, how to hunt. So I'm lucky enough that I belong to that kind of group of friends, and together we can bounce ideas and get advice and stuff like that on how to live sustainably. I've started to grow my own food. I've already, for a few years, a lot of years, made my own medicines, salves, tinctures, poultice and stuff like that with herbs. And so that was something I already knew how to do. I already knew, a good bit about foraging and stuff like that. I can sew. I don't know how to create fiber, how to take raw wool and create thread or anything like that. That is something that I'd like to learn how to do. I don't hunt, but I would. My husband is not a hunter. I'm saying a lot. But so I'm lucky enough that I belong to a great group of friends, and there is a multitude of YouTube channels that can help you find how to do these things. And so when I made the decision to really amp up my gardening as far as vegetable production, And as far as more herbs, I turned to YouTube to watch videos. I called friends. I emailed people. I read more books than normal, and I do read a lot. And I've realized that it's something that we all need to know. We all need to have some sort of skills on how to take care of ourselves if the outside world can't help us take care of ourselves. So with that, I also changed my diet because I thought, well, what's the use of growing all of these beautiful looking plants and all of this food that I'm super excited about if we never eat vegetables? Honestly, I think my family members will eat some corn on the cob sometimes, canned green beans. That's as far as their vegetable intake goes. They're not really salad people, and I didn't really know how to cook with vegetables that much. So I'm planting and growing all this stuff for nothing, basically, just so I can say that I do. Well, that's silly. Like, why should anybody do that? And so I did more research on recipes and the health benefits of different vegetables and different herbs. But like I said, I already knew most of those. But I spent a lot of time learning about those things. And guess what? Since June, we're in November, I'm no longer diabetic. I'm in the pre-diabetic phase, but hopefully, eventually, I will get out of that as well. I've went from 214 pounds to 189 pounds. Exercise would help me get that even lower, but I'm not there yet. Baby steps. But I've realized that eating healthier has enriched my life. Growing these vegetables has enriched my life. Planting flowers and getting my hands in the soil have relieved my stress. It's therapy for me from the inside out, all the way around, from the flowers to the herbs to the vegetables. And I think it can be that for so many people. If it's something that you are interested in, but you're kind of hesitant, start out with some stuff in containers, some flowers in containers, some vegetables. You can put vegetables in a pot, in a container. Then go from there to like maybe raised beds. If you're intimidated by going into your yard because you don't know if it's something that is going to be a lifelong thing for you, or you don't want to tear up your yard, there's so many different things that you can do. I've realized since eating vegetables and cutting out sugar that when I eat a vegetable that my husband says tastes like, it's like candy. The other day, I am eating fresh sweet peppers, red sweet peppers, and I bit into it and I was like, oh my God, this is so sweet. This is like super sweet. This is delicious. And I talked to one of my friends about it yesterday, and she said, ew, I would rather just give me a chocolate bar. But because I cut out all of those bad foods, no soda, no candy, stuff like that, that now when I taste the natural sweetness of a sweet pepper, it is like candy. It's amazing. It's delicious. And I want to grow more. And so when I ordered like a bunch of seed for sweet peppers now, because to me they were like crack. They were so delicious. And so take the time to do a little research, ask questions, ask YouTubers, ask friends, and don't be afraid to make a lifestyle change. Don't be afraid to change your garden from a flower garden to adding some vegetables. Don't be afraid to start it all. Don't be afraid to be inconsistent. It's okay. Live the best life for you. And you will find that you are happier, healthier so fast. And it'll be worth every minute of it, I promise. So until next time, we'll see what's growing in the garden again later. Bye-bye.